Ladies and gentlemen, weebs and waifus, welcome aboard and bring along all your hopes and dreams. Because I just accomplished perhaps my biggest achievement in anime. That's right, as of the recording of this video on March 31st, I have officially watched all 1,155 episodes of One Piece. That's right, the challenge I laid out for myself back in my last One Piece video of being all caught up before the hiatus ended on April 5th, by the way, was accomplished. Now I know I was cutting it close, but hey, the job got finished. Now in that video, I was in the Dressrosa Arc, so that means I watched 500 plus episodes of One Piece in that 3-month span. So, in today's video, I'll be giving a brief recap of all the arcs from Dressrosa to Egghead, giving my genuine thoughts and feelings about One Piece as a whole, what my favorite arcs, moments, and characters were, and more. So, One Piece Season 1, let's talk about it. Now, I made a terrible decision. I told myself I would catch up on One Piece before the hiatus ended on April 5th, starting from Dressrosa. Now, that's not a goal. I think that might be a cry for help. But somehow, I actually did it, guys. So here's everything that happened from Dressrosa to Egghead, and why my brain is permanently in Gear 5. So, this started off just trying to be a casual endeavor. Like, watch a few episodes a night, relax, enjoy peak fiction. No. This turned into a full-time job. Dressrosa alone felt like I lived there. I paid rent, and I knew the neighbors by name. Now, Dressrosa was basically a flamingo man with strings, ruins an entire country. And Luffy says, I'm gonna punch that. Enter Gear 4. Luffy turned into a bouncy castle with anger issues. Law's backstory, the depression, the trauma, the pain, 10 out of 10. I was not emotionally prepared, especially once you get to the whole Corazon business. Also, why were there 97 side characters? I blinked, and then all of a sudden there was a gladiator with a backstory longer than my resume, and I cared about him. And don't even get me started on the birdcage. That thing was moving at 0.2 miles per hour for 40 episodes. Now, Dressrosa, I believe, is one of the tentpole arcs of One Piece. I tell everyone that I talk to about One Piece, I almost feel like I'm a One Piece missionary at this point, spreading the good word, the good gospel that is Oda and his masterpiece, his magnum opus that is One Piece. And the thing is, guys, in Dressrosa, once Luffy hits Gear 4, I just knew this was a pivotal moment in the series. Now, I believe the first major tentpole arc is Marineford. Now, I would love to hear you guys in the comments make a claim for maybe there was a different arc that you think was like the different first tentpole. But when I think of tentpole, I'm thinking this is like a peak. Like, you cannot tell the story of One Piece without Marineford. So I would say Marineford and then Dressrosa are two of the major arcs in this series. Quick side note, I know everyone glazes Gear 5, and trust me, I love it as well. I'm going to get into it later once we talk about the Wano arc and, Egghead. But for me, I am just a huge fan of the Gear 4 design, 4th gear. I mean, both of them. I love Bounce Man and I love Snake Man. Just wanted to point that out. Love 5th gear, don't get me wrong. 5th gear is dope. But personally, I think 4th gear is the best. So by the end of Dressrosa, Luffy has now achieved 4th gear, which is amazing. And he has put Doflamingo in the dirt. and Doflamingo is locked away and impelled down where he belongs, and it's on to the land of Zoe. We get to Zoe, and out of nowhere, Oda just casually goes, "Yeah, this island, yeah, it's on the back of a giant elephant. Let's do that." And they're calling it the Phantom Island, and it never stays in one spot because it's always moving, and now we know why. So, yeah, that's cool. And then we also see that the elephant, Zoe, is going to play a key role later on. But it was an interesting arc. Very interesting. Zoe isn't one of my more favorite arcs, to be honest with you. I mean, it was cool to be introduced to the mink tribe and things like that. We do get, Pedro, and we get Carrot and things like that, which they were great characters, don't get me wrong. But, One Piece has a lot of arcs, a lot of sagas, and it's just not what I would consider like one of the more top tier ones, but still cool nonetheless. But the arc following Zoe, Whole Cake Island, now we're starting to pick up steam. So during Whole Cake Island, which I just have to say, earlier I'd mentioned there's like 3 arcs that I believe are the top 3 arcs in One Piece. If I had to rank what number 4 was, it would be this arc right here, Whole Cake Island, because during this arc, we really focus on my personal favorite character in the Straw Hat crew, Black Leg Sanji. Yes, we get the Black Leg Sanji lore. It's really heavy focus on him, so I was really excited. So during Whole Cake Island, we kind of know something is up because we notice that Sanji's bounty doesn't say wanted dead or alive like everyone else in the crew. He's just wanted alive. And we find out why Sanji is wanted alive. It's because he's being tasked to marry the daughter of Big Mom. That's right, one of the 4 emperors of the sea needs Sanji to marry her daughter. Now, you gotta be asking yourself, why would an emperor of the sea want Sanji to be alive so he can marry one of her daughters? Well, we find out that Sanji comes from a line of super genius scientists, wouldn't you know it? His father, Judge, and his siblings, who are all basically super soldiers, they are genius scientists that have conducted experiments and have crafted super crazy strong gear, which we see Sanji utilize a little later. And she's basically, wanting to go after the One Piece, wanting to get to Laugh Tale. And so the best way to do that at this point is to combine families. Combine the Big Mom family with Sanji's family, the Vinsmokes. And then we have a super family, which you have the power of Big Mom's crew, the technology of the Vinsmoke family. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for anyone who's getting in their way. And it's a very emotional arc. Get into Sanji's backstory with his mother, who, very tragically passed away and cared for him and just loved all her kids. But Sanji, you definitely tell, was her favorite. And I mean, this was very emotional. I think Sanji gets kind of some hate for this arc as well, just due to his interactions with Luffy. He kind of pulls a Nico Robin in a sense of he wants to protect Luffy, his captain, and his crew. It's just the way he goes about doing so could have been different. It definitely angers those within the crew, like Nami. And it's very emotional because you don't want to see anyone in the Straw Hat family to really be, fighting each other. And, I mean, unless it's Sanji and Zoro, because that's kind of their bromance relationship. We all see that. It's plain to see. But when you're talking about Sanji and Luffy, I don't know, that whole scene, those whole episodes were very just uncomfortable to watch because, Luffy's just sitting there and taking the beat down. And Sanji's giving it. And it was just very uncomfortable. I feel like if Zoro knew about this situation, he would have not let this slide. I'm not entirely sure if they ever told Zoro that this particular instance took place, but it just goes to show that Luffy doesn't give up on his family, which is his crew. He will never give up on them. He waited there until Sanji came back to give him his food because he believes Sanji's the best cook in the world and he's one of his wings. Like I say, I make the analogy. If Luffy were an eagle, his right wing would be Zoro and his left wing would be Sanji. That's just how it is. And I love everyone else in the crew, but that's the reality. And Sanji, Zoro, Luffy, they all realize that. And especially Luffy, he's the captain. And so he waits there until Sanji makes the smart choice, comes back, realizes he was in the wrong, is extremely remorseful. He's begging and pleading with everyone. And of course they forgive him. He's the cook. He's a very important member of the crew. So seeing them reconcile inevitably was amazing. So like I said, I have a lot of love for Whole Cake Island. Just crazy. I mean, the wedding, you get some big mom lore and backstory regarding the photo and how important that certain person was in said photo. Just a tremendous 10 out of 10 arc. While I can't knock it into like the top tier arcs, like the top 3, it's literally the notch right below it. I love Whole Cake Island. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the Katakuri fight when discussing Whole Cake Island. I mean, Luffy got his ass beat for a long time. I mean, Katakuri stabbed himself, impaled his own body to even things out because his other siblings had to get involved and they injured Luffy, and so this man even had the honor to even the playing field to give, Luffy a fair shot. Now, mind you, if he doesn't do that, things probably could have ended up much worse for Luffy. But yeah, up until Whole Cake Island, this was a pretty devastating loss. And Katakuri is cracked out of his freaking gourd. I mean, I don't know if we're going to see him in the future of One Piece, but that guy was really freaking strong. And then Wano. Wano is what happens when One Piece decides to go absolutely insane. The animation, beautiful. The fights, cracked. Emotional damage, you got it. Yeah, I was not okay after Oden's story. He laughed. I didn't. Then we got Roof Piece, just straight hands, no talking, no politics, just violence. And Kaido, that is not a man. He is a whole ass problem. And then Gear 5, 5th gear. Luffy turns into a freaking cartoon. Toon Force. He's laughing. The fight is ridiculous. Physics just no longer exist. And at this point, it was kind of par for course. I didn't even question it. I was just like, yeah, that makes sense. Wano was absolutely insane. Had some great moments. Now, I mentioned 3 tentpole arcs in One Piece. I mentioned Marineford. I mentioned Dressrosa. And that 3rd arc would have to be Wano. Wano was absolutely insane. It is the longest arc in One Piece for a reason, and for good reason. So many key things happen in this arc. We get Momonosuke. We get his development as a character when he eventually gets turned into an adult, becomes an adult dragon, right? I mean, huge moments. We get 5th gear. Like I mentioned, Roof Piece, where they're just fighting on the roof. We got the worst generation taking on 2 Emperors of the Sea, Big Mom and Kaido, when they join forces to try to get the One Piece, to see who's going to be the king of the pirates. And you got Captain Eustace Kidd, you got Trafalgar Law, you got Luffy, all going after these emperors, and the fight was crazy. Big moves, big beautiful animation. We have Sanji and Zoro handling business inside the castle, right? We got them taking on the lead performers, which are like the top dogs. I mean, King and Zoro, excellent fight. Introduction of the Lunarians, absolutely beautiful, because they're black, and your boy is black. So, love their character design, love the Lunarian design, the tan skin, black dark skin, the white hair, the wings, the fire. We see that they're based on their DNA gets used later on in the next arc, and it's absolutely crazy. Now, we get Sanji as well, who gets an upgrade, which, for the Sanji fans like me, I loved seeing this, because when I mentioned earlier back in Whole Cake Island and about the Vinsmoke family being genius scientists and they have this high-tech gear, Sanji makes use of it for sure in Wano, under the name Stealth Black, or I guess more officially, Soba Mask, whichever you prefer. But I love Stealth Black, and then we kind of find out he doesn't need it anymore. I mean, will we see? I don't think we're going to see him use it ever again, because I believe he destroys the canister in Wano. So it's kind of sad, because I love the design, I love the look. Kind of looks like the Black Power Ranger. And now he has Ifrit Jambe, that like blue hellfire, so freaking cool. Takes out Queen, so that's one of your lead performers down. Zoro handles business with the others. You got Brooke and Nico Robin handling business elsewhere off in the castle. Even Frankie doing his thing. Chopper, we gotta give it up for Chopper in this arc as well, because of the technology that Queen was using, trying to turn everyone into demon ice demons, essentially. And he obviously comes up with the cure that saves everyone, so shouts out to Chopper. And everyone just had a chance to shine. We have Zeus now as a partner with Nami, right? In the Climate Act. And they're like a really powerful duo now. And I just thought Wano was excellent. Even some of the lesser characters I thought did an amazing job. I mean, Otama, her backstory, so sad. And just seeing the look on her face when Big Brother Luffy is around and she's able to finally just have a meal, have food for like once in her freaking life. And Orochi, that slimy, disgusting piece of trash. I mean, just absolutely diabolical. I mean, kudos for Oda for making a character I just absolutely freaking despise and hate. I could not stand Orochi worth a damn. I mean, one of the worst villains, but by worst I mean best kinda villains in One Piece. Just him being the Shogun, thinking he was, big stuff and just like top dog. And then just because you had the backing of Kaido, you thought you could puff your chest out a little bit. I mean, my God. Like I said, Wano is an excellent arc. It's a masterpiece. It is long, it's lengthy, but I mean, for good reason, and it's well deserved. But we don't stop there, because after Wano, we get into the last arc of One Piece Season 1, wink wink, and that is Egghead. Now, last but certainly not least, we have Egghead. Egghead is a very important arc. We are introduced to a lot of key players in the world of One Piece in general. Dr. Vegapunk, who is extremely instrumental because he is a Navy scientist. He works for the world government. They fund all his inventions. And we learn that he knows about the Void Century. He was searching into it. And, we learn about the complete erasure of the island Lelucia. We learn about the Mother Flame. A lot of big things are brought up. We are introduced to the clones of Dr. Vegapunk, because he had to make clones. We get Bartholomew Kuma's backstory, which is, to me, I don't know about you guys, but Bartholomew Kuma is my favorite character in all of One Piece, bar none. Sanji, I love you, but the goonery is getting a little out of hand, so I'm about to bump you down to number 2 now. Kuma is number 1. We learned that Kuma's been watching the Straw Hat Pirates throughout their journey, and that Luffy reminded him of Joy Boy, reminded him of Nika the sun god, reminded him of the legend that his father told him when he was a kid of the warrior of liberation, that he is the one that frees people. He's the hero that will save him one day. And he says that if anyone's going to be that, he's putting his money on Luffy. And so it kind of ties all back together, because if you remember back in Saba Odi Archipelago, for those who have made it that far, Kuma separates everyone from the Straw Hat crew. They all get separated. That we kind of enter our 2-year time skip period where they're all training and getting stronger. And it was done for a reason, because Kuma had been watching them. And his backstory with his daughter, Bonnie, Jewelry Bonnie, which she is also, I guess, a part of this, worst generation, new generation of pirates. Even though technically, I believe she's only 12 canonically. It gets kind of fuzzy because she can, change her age at will. It's kind of her, whole shtick. But the importance of her, being the daughter, having the sapphire scales that she got inherited by her mother, Jenny, who, let me just say, the fact that Jenny and Kuma never got married and never had a biological child together is absolutely heartbreaking. Now, before you attack me, guys, in the comments, I love Bonnie. I believe Bonnie is Kuma's daughter 1000%. Like, not by blood, but she is his daughter 1000%. That just goes to show that there's kind of a difference between being a dad and being a father. And Kuma was both, Kuma was there for her from the very beginning. And it's just sad as a fan, because I was so hurt when, Jenny proposed marriage to Kuma and he said no. Now, you get the reason of why he says no, because, he kind of didn't feel like he was good enough, things of that nature. But we always knew, and he always knew in his heart, he loved Jenny and he would have married her if they had the chance to reunite. But just a tragic backstory. I love Kuma. He's the kindest, bravest, coolest guy in the show. Love his backstory. I mean, if you get into it, he was a slave. I believe he said by the age of 4 he was a slave. Loses his mother, loses his father in front of his very eyes, gets murdered for doing the Nika Sun God dance, which I love that he was able to pass that on to his daughter, Bonnie. Just beautiful storytelling. We get introduced to the 5 elders in Egghead, the importance of them, the highest authority of the world government, and then we learn that there's a person above them, Emu, who I guess truly would be the top authority, because he is who the 5 elders answer to. And we see the fight between 5th Gear Luffy and the 5 elders. I mean, it originally just starts off with one of them, Jay Garcia Saturn, then the others have to get involved, of course, but then we get the giant robot that comes back to life and helps Joy Boy and releases that massive burst of haki that's able to knock all the 5 elders, send them back and summon them back to where they came from, where they belong. And Egghead was just a tremendous arc. I mean, we do get some sad moments as well. The quote-unquote death of Dr. Vegapunk, he's dead in a way, but he's not really dead because of the clones, and they kind of makeshift into one being that's essentially Vegapunk. I know it's kind of confusing, but you kind of got to watch it to understand. Hopefully you guys kind of understood that. But Egghead I would put right beneath the top 3 arcs. Like I said, you got Marineford, the death of Ace, big moments like that. You have Dressrosa, 4th Gear, beating Doflamingo. You got Wano, 5th Gear, beating Kaido, beating Big Mom. And that next tier of arcs in One Piece, I would go Whole Cake Island, where you get, Snake Man, 4th Gear, and the Katakuri fight, and Sanji's backstory, and Big Mom's backstory, and the wedding, things of that nature. And now Egghead I would put also in there as well, because just a lot of stuff is happening here. And we're setting up for the next arc, which is Elbaf, the land of the giants. Which I almost forgot. I'd be remiss to say. The giants come and help save the day towards the end of Egghead, the Egghead arc. And we have Dory and Broggy's return, and we know their relationship with the likes of Usopp and Luffy. So it's going to be very interesting to see what is in store in Elbaf. I'm so excited for April 5th. I'm glad I finished One Piece before the hiatus ended, so now I'm all caught up. I know the whole story, at least for the anime, and I'm just going to dive into, the weekly episodes of Elbaf, and I'm so excited. I'm really hoping that this is a turning point for Usopp's character personally. Now, I say that because when you go back in time in One Piece and they all make that promise to each other on the boat where they all put their foot on the barrel and they declare what they're going to do, what they want to do while they're, a Straw Hat Pirate. And what did Usopp say? He said he wants to be a brave warrior of the sea. Who better to teach Usopp, give him a power-up, give him a boost in becoming that brave warrior of the sea that he wants to become? I mean, it would have to be his mentors, Dory and Broggy, would it not? So I'm very excited for the Elbaf arc. Maybe we'll even see Sanji and Zoro get further power-ups, get even stronger. And maybe Luffy gets stronger, and Bonnie, because now she has I guess she is 5th gear as well, ? I mean, she seems cracked. Is she joining the Straw Hats officially, unofficially? Is it like an honorary member thing, like with Princess Vivi? And I don't know. Maybe some of the manga readers will know, and hopefully you guys don't spoil too much of it for me in the comments. But there's so many questions heading into Elbaf, so I'm very excited to see where this goes. And One Piece is just a masterpiece. So there you have it, folks. 1,155 episodes later. Was it worth it? Yes. Would I do it again? Yes. I mean, if I could go back and rewatch One Piece for the first time over again and have that, first feeling and watch it all over, I genuinely would. I just realized by making this video just how much I truly can yap about One Piece just because I love it that much. And I want to give a huge shout out to my boy Austin for pushing One Piece onto me, because I was in the camp of, dude, it's 10,000 episodes. I don't got time to watch all that. And I was firmly a One Piece hater. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna hold back, guys. I've been fully converted. I was in the camp of the people that were saying, oh, it's too long. Why do you need so long to tell a great story? I've watched things like Berserk and Attack on Titan. They tell great stories in much less time. So, why is One Piece so great? And while One Piece does suffer from pacing issues, I will say that overall, I mean, if you actually dedicate the time and give One Piece a chance, I guarantee you, you will not regret it. You will love every last minute. And if you don't, you just have poor taste in anime, I guess. Yeah, I would say that. You just don't like peak fiction, I guess. Whatever you want to say. But One Piece is truly a masterpiece. I want to thank Oda for this amazing property that is the One Piece world. I know it's long, but, if you combine Naruto Shippuden, and Boruto, which I know, I've watched Boruto, don't judge me. I mean, that was over 1,000 episodes. So if you've watched all that, and you love all the Naruto people out there, you can do that for One Piece. And One Piece, sorry to say it, this might be a hot take for some people, but if you just come in a little close, just want you guys to hear this. One Piece is better than Naruto. So just gonna throw that out there. But yeah, loved One Piece, 10 out of 10. Not much more I could say good about it. I mean, if you've made it to this point in the video, a huge arigato to you. And if you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. And in the meantime and in between time, sayonara.